Hey, thank you. Well, I just got back from Costa Rica and where the landslides, flooding, closed airports, the whole bit, impassable roads. Took me 3 days to get home, but I'm home. So urgency or the visual urgency for climate change is now very real for me again. Not that it ever wasn't real, but anyway, so I call this meeting to order. And do we have an approval of the minutes as submitted, the previous minutes? Or does anyone have any, I guess what I'm supposed to ask is, does anyone have any proposed amendments? Not seeing any, we can count the minutes as approved. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to public comments. Do we have any public comments? Kevin?
Of course.
Yeah.
Um, I just have a few items I want to mention, literally three. One is that we were very disappointed that the city council passed a $1 million new golf maintenance building 2 weeks ago and didn't, in our mind, or at least to our knowledge, adequately consider non-fossil fuel sources for it. This is the first building that's been put up in Middleton in many years, and by my counts, maybe since the police station and the court building. So we were very disappointed in that. And even though we know the chair of the advisory committee is very open to using heat pumps, so apparently they're going to have a boiler, an efficient one, if at that. But and this is just another reason why the SPP implementation plan will come in to great use and hopefully prevent those kinds of things from occurring without a little more oversight by other people in the city and on the council, because I don't believe a lot of people on the council even knew about this. And we didn't really know until it came up that night, to be honest. And then finally, I just want to say, of all the things Kelly's listed in her staff report, the one she didn't mention is that the school district now has a sustainability committee of its own. And I'm one of four members on that 12-member committee, which met on November 7th. And I would call it a very encouraging first session. The transportation facility managers who have already worked closely with the McKinstry consulting team seem very enthusiastic about the e-bus they're getting and other initiatives. It was encouraging to learn that 30 community members had applied to serve on the committee. Kind of be nice to know who they are so we can get them more involved with the city. Um, and one of the suggestions coming out of the first meeting was that we get some of those people involved in like focus groups or other activities like that. And as a bonus, in addition to the e-bus, the district announced that they have purchased their first EV in the form of a Ford van that will support maintenance work at all the schools. And the district will be establishing initial charging infrastructures without providing any details on this yet at two separate facilities, transportation center for buses and other vehicles and operations at the district services center. And that's all I have to say. Thanks again for everybody's contributions to the committee and your volunteer time for many of you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Okay, do we have any other public comments for this evening? Okay, not seeing any. Let's move on to the staff report with Kelly. What questions, comments, feedback do we have for her? Laura?
I was just wondering if Kelly could elaborate a little bit more on the community campus committee, that section, maybe the direction, if she knows any the committee is leaning towards, or what the planning staff thinks about some of these options, or just kind of flesh this out maybe a little bit for the committee.
Well, the committee hasn't gotten very far yet. The process is moving pretty slowly. We've hired consultants to help us weed through and prepare options for three different potential ways forward. One would be a major renovation of the existing buildings of the library, city hall, and senior center. The next would be some type of hybrid new construction along with existing buildings. And the third would be total reconstruction, new construction of all three services. And again, right now we don't have any options on the table, so I don't know if that would look like a combined city hall library and then a separate senior center or any possible combination of those. We did go through this process pre-pandemic, and the same consultants came up with just new construction options, and all the options presented to Common Council were very similar, and they were all around the same price. And so then the pandemic happened almost after they'd released those options to council to consider. And then we halted the project because of the pandemic, and we didn't know, there was so much uncertainty. So I would say the project kicked back off not quite a year ago, maybe 7 or 8 months ago. And one of the first things we wanted to do was to establish the scope of work for the consultants, which was a more differentiated set of options to present to Common Council. And again, this isn't at the specific design level. It's more about massing, what kind of space needs are we really after? The pandemic changed a lot of those assumptions for space needs. And so one of the first steps that the consultants took was to do a mechanical, electrical, plumbing analysis for just the existing building option so that they could start to pinpoint some very rough numbers for what it would cost to just renovate our existing buildings. And even within just that one option of renovating existing buildings, there's so many different variations you could go after. So they tried to differentiate even within that option what it would look like cost-wise to do a pretty standard, very small renovation where you'd basically just be swapping out mechanicals for the next level up efficiency with fossil fuel things. Then the middle option, which was using heat pumps and much more efficient and electrified equipment. And then a third, more expensive choice with geothermal. But even within all of those options, everything depends on all the other decisions you make for the building. So I think everyone is still grappling with how to really evaluate that. The community campus committee is made up of it's a citizen committee. So, and also an alder is on that committee. And so, it takes a while to get everyone up to speed for even that committee to understand what the city's needs are and why we need either a major renovation or new buildings. So I feel like we're still kind of stuck in that phase, in that part of the project. We've done some tours of other facilities in Milwaukee and around this area, which were super helpful, I think, to just start to see what's possible and see what challenges and also successes other communities have had with this type of a project. And then this Wednesday is the next committee meeting, and the consultants are going to present their MEP evaluation, which they've already done for staff, and they're going to do it now for the citizen committee. And Laura is also going to be speaking there about the sustainable purchasing policy implementation plan, because it pairs with our goals for what kind of equipment we want going forward in any kind of renovation or any new building. We do have a set of approved sustainability goals for this project. It's actually the only thing that's been approved for this project by council, and council saw that back in 2019, I believe, or early 2020. So, and that includes having a net zero building as one of the goals, so that the council has approved that. So there is a baseline understanding that we want this to be highly, highly efficient no matter what option we end up going with. So in short, there's a lot up in the air still. We're not near to the point where you would like be thinking about selecting equipment or specific design features. We're still in the stage of, will we build new buildings? Will we just renovate? And who knows? It's very still up in the air.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly. Let's go to Dick and Kermit. I'm just going to quickly say that in the comments, I'll just start it in the comments that I'm going to talk about in four. What I'm going to ask for is in general, and this I should have said this even before Laura talked, even though it wasn't an issue when Laura talked, but just more succinct and concise comments when people talk, if we could, just so that we can, the goal of keeping the meetings shorter and to make sure that not just a few of us dominate the conversations and we really allow time for a more diverse group, an inclusive group to speak when wanted, so when needed. So with that in mind, go ahead, Dick.
Okay, I'm going to put handcuffs on here. Okay. Well, I'm glad Laura brought this one up because I was surprised to see that we're all now back to considering three options. And I'm actually encouraged by the fact that we're going to revisit this because I kind of remember from before, well, we need new facility, we're outgrown it. I guess I'm questioning, do we really know what size facility we need? And clearly, we have energy reduction, renewable energy goals for the city, for city government. And if we can't do this ourselves, then how can we even expect the community? So I think it's really important to get this done right and basically figure out, well, what are our needs for a library? What are our needs for the city government functions, and then the community center, and try to do it in a way that obviously saves money, but yet does it in an energy efficient way. And I really want to see us revisit this whole thing because it seemed like before we are just going to build a new building and throw in whatever was the most expedient way to heat it and cool it and whatever. So I want to see us do it right and have more input from the committee from the various options. But I would like to see us even make a recommendation later. Maybe it's not on the agenda that we want to reinforce that initial thing that the council did, that this should be a really green building, a really green facility, and let's do it right and look for the future.
I like that. Okay, Kermit.
Thanks. I have four quick questions. I have no control over the answers. One, Kelly, are you aware of Sun Prairie's Community Resilience Center? And is there any way in which the new community campus would embrace or incorporate that concept?
Yes and yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Look at those succinct answers. I love it.
Two, I appreciate your staff agenda comments regarding the election and the impacts. I have done my screaming and crying offline, so I'll just have a question for you, Kelly, again. Are there any indications or anticipations of impacts on currently released funds for any of our projects? And are there any strategies we should be contemplating to address or counter those?
Yes, what I've heard is that most likely anything that's already in the works, we should be able to retain that funding, but new funding is likely or potentially will go away in 2025, but maybe not all of it. I will forward the committee a report or a summary from Renew Wisconsin, I believe, or maybe it was Mike Vickerman, who used to work for Renew. He had an analysis he shared with Kathy Coons from the county about that, like, what the trend, what people are talking about behind the scenes and what they think. It's all very, there's just, everyone's just, it's not necessarily, we don't know. We don't know. Unfortunately, it's a real uncertain time. So I do know that, the Inflation Reduction Act is benefiting red districts more than blue districts. So those politicians in those districts will probably want to cut the ribbons on those projects. So, there's maybe some self-preservation there for some of that. But as far as taking on new projects, I know that there's already, discussion of people being nervous about whether the funding will be there. So people are being more conservative about their choices now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it sounds like something we're gonna have to keep on monitoring then. Thanks.
Yeah.
Third, the Efficiency Navigator program I know has been focused primarily on naturally occurring affordable housing. I think in this committee and in other meetings, I've been kind of lobbying or advocating for efficiency navigators, whatever you might want to call them, for the community at large. Is there any possibility of that scope being added to the program or developing a new program that might provide that capability to the community?
You mean to all income levels and all, just everyone?
Right. Or, I mean, expanding it, even if it's expanded incrementally, like, okay, residential homeowners, how do I access this program, these funds? Who do I talk to? How do I decide? That kind of thing.
Well, the Efficiency Navigator currently, as it's set up, is prioritizing low-income tenants because they often cannot access the first costs
Right.
to this type of a program. Whereas currently, although this may not be the case in the future, people with higher incomes will be able to access the really amazing Homes and Here program through the Inflation Reduction Act, through Focus on Energy. So in my mind, I feel like people who have more means have that as a great option to have incredible rebates on these sustainable choices. But for renters, they don't have decision-making power in their houses, and they also suffer much higher energy burdens than higher income folks. So we wanted to help them prioritize them first so
Right.
that they don't lose out on the utility bill savings and carbon reduction and indoor air quality in their rental units. And that's why it was set up that way. We could always expand the program to single family homes. We set the eligibility criteria, so it's not set in stone. That is what council approved, and it was worked on by Way Forward Resources, Senior Center, Elevate, and Sustained Aim and the city to come up with that eligibility criteria. We could always change that. And then the Energy Future Grant we're working on with Madison and Fitchburg and Latino Academy. That is a planning grant to scale this program up regionally, if not statewide. So it's more about program design and workforce development, but it's meant to revisit all these criteria and how we can scale this up so more people can take advantage of it. I think it will probably maintain its priority for more vulnerable populations or people who might need help assistance the most.
Yeah, thanks. I agree with the priority and the triaging that's been done. At the same time, I'm kind of trying to bring to the fore the challenge we have to address the community overall and its conversion to high efficiency, clean energy systems, and thinking that this might be a way to help people get over the hump. So thank you for your answer. I think we need to revisit it somehow to come up with a way to expand it, even if we call it a different program, but had the same basic concept. Lastly, the golf building project is loosely connected to, I guess, the discussion about buildings here. Is there any way to contemplate or have the community advocate for amendments or changes to that project to reflect heat pumps and other higher efficiency, low carbon,
Yeah.
perhaps even
So
net zero
just
options.
just checking here. Is that golf building did that make it onto the agenda? Because I don't want to talk
I-
about it if it's not on
Yeah,
there.
and the nature of the discussion is, do you know? And if not, can you find out? And then it's a request to staff. So I'm not wanting us to turn it into an agenda item
Okay.
beyond that question.
Okay.
My answer is that I have a meeting with Jeremy on Thursday to discuss all of this. He wants to meet about how to do some of this in that facility. And he's received an email from Lisa Hanairo laying out what she would like to see. And we're meeting on Thursday to talk about how to address some of those concerns.
I have an email in my inbox too about that, which I will review and get back to people in the next few days. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. What other questions do we have or comments for Kelly? None. Okay. All right. So I'm going to keep my comment as well short, but if I don't want to sit here and time people, that's not my goal. But at the same time, if we could keep our comments and questions to 2 minutes, that would be really helpful. I would really appreciate that. And that will allow, members that we don't hear from a lot of times due to sometimes time constraints to be able to speak. So I think that's an important part of inclusivity. And so if people could do their best to, adhere to that, that would be great. I don't like cutting people off in mid sentences. That doesn't feel good to me. But if it goes on much too long, I'm going to try to cut people off a little bit more. So with the goal of, if we can get to around an hour at the meetings, I know we haven't been at that time in years, but if we could, I think everyone would appreciate that and enjoy that. So, okay, moving forward. Ziegler Farm Development feedback. Kelly, do you have any? I know there's one thing I want to mention about that, but do you have any comments or, do you want to give any background on that now?
Well, I did want to welcome Brian Munson from Vanderwall and Matt Brink from Viridian Homes. They are on the meeting right
Hi.
now. So they are here if anyone here has specific questions about the development
Okay.
for them. And
Okay.
for Brian and Matt's information, this list was compiled by the committee or a subset of the committee last month because this item was referred to the Sustainability Committee from Plan Commission to review the development and ask for feedback. So this is the draft of the feedback that's in the packet and is pulled up on your screen right now. And as staff, I ask that the committee debates this or decides that you are comfortable with these points, and then refer this back to Plan Commission as the official feedback from the Sustainability Committee.
Okay. Welcome, Brian and Matt. Thank you for joining us in your evening. Thank you for taking time in your evening.
For having us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. So my first question to both of you is, what are your thoughts on this list?
Well, if I could kind of just give a point of information for the committee, I could share where the current concept is, because that might address some of the land use questions. If that would be appropriate.
Okay, yeah. And again, don't mean to cut you short, but just don't go on for half an hour, please.
No, I'm used to 3-minute timelines. So
okay, good. Thank you.
If I could share the screen, I'll pull up the concept here.
Oh, okay. Kelly, are you able to allow him to share the screen?
I believe so. Yeah.
Here we go. Can everyone see that? Yes, looks like it. Okay. So we've been working through the various committees and talking with quite a few different groups about lots of components in this project. So just to hit some of the quick highlights. First is road grid. So we were able to work with the committees to align what is now Forever Fields Drive, used to be Street D, north of the wetlands. We got concurrence from various committees that alignment avoids any wetland fill, allows the continuation of the environmental corridor through here along with the trail corridor. We have refined the trail corridor so that we pick it up at the southeast corner of Keneal Trail and High Point Road, comes through the project, and then would be extended via boardwalk to connect down to the trail that is behind Whittlesey. So again, creating that regional connection all the way along here. We have revised the plan placement with Graber Pond to create a 100-foot setback from the wetlands. Currently, if you go out there and look at it, the farm field comes right down to the wetlands and some years into the wetlands. That will be permanently fixed and expanded beyond the typical 75-foot setback to meet the Graber Pond recommendations of a 100-foot setback to the back of the lots here. We have designed the stormwater management to achieve 100% stay on, which is a higher standard for infiltration, both within the Graber Pond area as well as downstream and east of High Road. So in those cases, we had to move the stormwater uphill, literally, to find soils where infiltration could be achieved. So we've done that. We've introduced bioinfiltration as well. So we're excited about the overall environmental components of the site and the ability to both create recreational connections along with development. As far as the land use, it continues to be single family focused, and that's a reflection of two components. The first which being the topography of the site and the geography of the site, really leading itself towards a single family format. But then also I'd point out that, for example, lot 1 immediately north of the property is a multifamily site within Red Tail Ridge, as well as some of the existing multifamily along Bellefontaine. What this strives to do is kind of round off the bigger neighborhood in terms of creating opportunities for a diversity of housing types. And what you see on this map is a blend of 4 different street-loaded, street access single family, coupled up with 3 different lot sizes in alley single family. So a pretty broad spectrum of single family components within the neighborhood, but nonetheless focused on single family. So as I said, we've been through all the various committees. We've appreciated the feedback and comments. And so that's kind of just a quick summary of where things sit today on the concept.
Okay. Brian, I already have one question that I know one of our members is going to be highly interested in, as well as others. So what about in that top left part where you move the street? Yep, you move the street up. That's great. Thank you for, connecting that corridor. Can you do something with that road to allow the wildlife to either some of it to go under? I know Dick, you showed me what you had done in Germany or something where, there was actually a wildlife crossing that sort of blocked off the road up and diverted the wildlife to go under so that it wasn't run over and smashed, which is a huge problem, actually, even in our neighborhood for things right by the Conservancy.
It would be, potentially something the city could look at in terms of how the stormwater, because this is kind of an overland overflow of Graber Pond comes through this greenway and would continue through here and to the east.
That road, that seems like a very important, wildlife crossing there.
Yeah. The current grade differential between High Road, and then we're pinned down by Keneal Trail, and there's actually a house here. I'm not sure if we'd be able to lift the road high enough. But that is something that if there's interest there, that would be a city project of the reconstruction of High Road. Okay. And it would be certainly something that I think we'd be happy to respond to. But again, because this project won't be rebuilding High Road in its entirety through here, what we've understood from talking with the city engineering staff as well as the Board of Public Works is that is slated potentially for a reconstruction in 26.
Yeah. Okay.
And with design work starting in 25. From a phasing sense on this project, we're going to be beginning in the western portion of the site with 2 phases and then moving to the eastern portion and designing it such that the project can take access from Graber Road to the west or Misty Valley to the north while High Road is under construction.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your attention to these environmental concerns. We appreciate it. Lynn.
Thanks for dealing with this challenging property. Were you able to do a wildlife buffer at the north strip of land as well as the south?
So on the north side, right where my cursor is, we are able to get a corridor through here and kind of create a transition zone adjacent to the trees, both to try to preserve the trees that are on that north property line, but also to create a corridor moving through there. The narrowest, it's about 25 to 27 feet, but then it widens out wherever we can. So that's something that we probably will be looking at planting in a prairie planting. We've got a lot of experience working with rusty bumblebee seed mixes and different types of seed mixes within prairies, and then setting up corridors to make sure that the lawnmower doesn't go wild and have that lawn grow over time. So looking at corner markers and things like that to kind of make sure those separated areas remain as separated corridors. On the south side, we've been able to elongate the lots to create additional depth to preserve the trees potentially there along the south corridor. We're not dedicating that as an open space at this point because it doesn't have the ability to come all the way through because of the geography of Graver Road to the west. Of note on that southeast property line, we're actually putting the stormwater basin in there that doesn't serve the project. It actually picks up and treats water coming from the basin from the south. Again, trying to find ways to do some infiltration for something that was designed without any infiltration, but address some of the greater stormwater components within the neighborhood.
Okay, thanks. Two more things. It looks like the study noted two archaeological sites. One of them is already protected at the northeast part of Graver Pond. Used to have a plaque near it. Looks like there's another one right at about where Waxwing is. I didn't know if you have a process in place in case your backhoe maybe hit something interesting.
That is something we can definitely take a look at.
Okay.
We've had projects that have had that in the past, and it's something that we can take a look at further as we get into the grading and design of that site, just to understand how much the topography is moving, what kind of elements are potentially to be encountered, and then how to move forward appropriately.
Yep. And then one final thing. Would it be possible to let the fire department practice on that farmhouse before you tear it down?
That is something we'd be happy to talk to the fire department on. We've done that numerous times as well.
Okay. I told Chief Harris that this project was going on, so I don't know if it fits with your plans for the vegetation around that current farm, but
we're going to have to do quite a bit of grading in that area. Everybody who's gone by the site would recognize there's a lot of grade going up and down in every direction. And so because of that, we're not anticipating being able to save any of the vegetation right around the farm. So that might be something that controlled burn or even training within the building might be possible.
So thank you. Regarding the grading, one of the things on our list was, taking that soil and using it, the healthy soil. Are you able to do any of that?
Yeah, so one of the things we typically do is we will try to save that topsoil and bring it back onto the site to the extent possible. In that, we want to minimize the amount of dirt that comes off the site because we got to put it on a truck. We got to drive it somewhere. That's expensive. We'd like to avoid as much of that as possible. And so we'll work with and try to balance the cut and fill on this site and stockpile topsoil so it can come back onto the site in the restoration phase when we then have finished lots to deliver.
Okay, thank you.
this is a really quick one.
I'm sorry, Lynn, go ahead.
Really quick one. I was over at Red Tail Ridge this weekend. They have EV chargers in all the garages. Is that something that you were planning on doing?
And Matt, do you want to tackle that one? Typically what we've done is we have conduit installed in all of the garages. It's so that there's opportunities to size the wires appropriately based on what kind of charger people want to do with a direct run over to the panel. We've done that in the Arden Glen neighborhood down in Verona as a way to make it as easy as possible for somebody. It's not quite plug and play. We're not quite to that degree on the different systems, but that allows them to bring their system in very regularly with an electrician stringing that final wire.
Yep. I should correct myself. It wasn't an actual charger installed. They had pre-wired it with a plate.
That's what I'd be looking for too. Do you mind, Kelly, going back to the list? Kermit, if you don't mind, can we go through that list quick, one by one, actually?
Sure.
Were you talking, Kermit?
Yeah, if one of my questions kind of relates to the list item, but
Okay.
we can go through the list first, and then I can come in with a question if you still need
Okay,
it.
so we just handled the EV charger. I'm satisfied with that answer. It sounds like you are too, Lynn. What about heat pumps instead of standard furnaces and air conditioners?
Yeah, so on Viridian side, we don't offer heat pumps as like our standard offering, but certainly anytime if a customer wants that, we will offer that. We will help them source that if needed. We really big into Energy Star appliances. From land use side, we're a member of Green Tier as well. So we're always looking for the most efficient offering that we can. Just heat pumps wouldn't be a standard offering in most of the houses. But as you get into some of the nicer homes, that definitely is a common ask, and that's certainly something that we would not have an issue sourcing if asked.
Okay, so why wouldn't it be standard?
It's just so for all the different product types that we have, there are some cost ramifications to that. In our more affordable product, where attainability is really the goal, sometimes that it just isn't as feasible to put those in all homes across all the different product types that we have. So we do certainly have it as an option that people can select if they'd like.
Okay, because it's my understanding that yes, there's a higher upfront cost, and I have a heat pump, but that it pays for itself over time in the lower utility bills. So for me, it does sound quite accessible. So I can tell you, I am personally not going to back down on that one. So I'm really hoping that you guys might be able to adjust. They're quiet, it's less expensive, it's less energy. I feel like it's borderline irresponsible to put in anything but these days. And dual fuel, I understand. I'm not saying straight up heat pump, but I just don't see any practical reason not to do it, especially if these are all single family homes that people have that kind of income.
No, understood. Yes, thank you. And we'll certainly take all those recommendations forward, and I'll take that back to my construction side that really kind of handles all the nuts and bolts of everything that goes into the home. But certainly happy to take the recommendation, and we
Okay.
appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay. And just it was a suggestion for zoning, heating and cooling, but I'm not an expert on that, so I'll leave that to you guys. That was just a suggestion. Are you at least able to offer electric stoves? We don't have the guidelines right now, to say nobody can have a gas stove, but are you even offering induction if they want that?
Yeah, if a customer doesn't want induction, we can certainly provide that. We certainly have electric stoves in ranges and whatnot. But yeah, induction wouldn't be, again, kind of that standard offering, but we do certainly provide that for customers if they do ask.
Okay. Okay. I'm wondering, yeah, thank you. I'm wondering if you can at least you know, list it, not wait till they ask, but say, okay, we also have this, because some people might not even realize that, the induction stoves now are not like the 40-year-old grandma stove that's, didn't work as well. The
Yeah.
new ones are actually quite good.
Yeah.
So if you could, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then the paint, that's getting a little bit nuanced, small detail, but just wondering the low VOC and all that. And then the gutters and the downspouts to the native plant beds or to, and you mentioned earlier, I think Brian said, you're going for the max infiltration, and that's music to our ears. So thank you for that. And I think that ties into it. You might be doing that already, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian, is there just quick elaboration there? You and I talked about that a little bit today.
Yes,
How we address that.
we already have a standard where we direct downspouts on site. We want, again, with a focus on infiltration, we want to try to make sure that wherever possible, we are taking that roof water, which doesn't need to be recleaned. We don't want to run that across a pavement surface
Yeah.
into an infiltration basin. We want to get that infiltrated as quickly as possible, ideally on site.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to go now to Alder Schaefer and then to Vice Chair Buchholz, please.
Yeah, thank you. I just,
I'm going to jump in.
I'm sorry,
I
Kermit.
had raised my hand before, and
So here's the thing, Kermit, let's do the Roberts Rules part that people who haven't spoken yet before someone else hasn't spoken, let's go to them. So you go before Laura then, okay?
okay.
Alder Schaefer, please.
thank you. I just want to, Christy, I want to appreciate your push towards the heat pumps. And Matt, when I heard you talk, you said we're going to encourage this, encourage this, encourage this. And then we're certainly open to this idea. It seems like you're very low. The idea of a heat pump is very low on your priority list. And I think you could put it into an encouragement. We encourage this like we encourage all the other stuff like that. This is important. And I'm on the council and I'm certainly paying attention to these things. So I think I really think that's not a trivial issue, and to say, well, we'll consider that just doesn't quite get to me to show that you're really behind that whole concept.
Yeah, no, understood. And when we come to Plan Commission, certainly the Common Council, I'll go back with again the construction side and confer with them, and I'll come back to you guys with the most kind of concrete language that I can. So it's just a little bit outside of the scope that I typically deal with on the land side. So I'll definitely come back to you guys with as a concrete statement as I can, because it is important to us. I just don't want to overstep in this
Well,
meeting
good.
here.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go to Kermit and then Laura, please.
Yeah, and it's very germane to this topic about heat pumps. One of the reasons we're pushing on it is that buildings are one of the largest carbon pollution sources in our economy or society, and heating and cooling is one of the biggest sources of that consumption for the buildings. And heat pumps are one huge step away from fossil fuel reliance. So I'm wondering, again, not only can we count on you to make the adoption of heat pumps a higher priority offering, have you considered what it would take if you were to be so aspirational as to pursue a zero fossil gas development?
So I have not been a part of meetings where they've considered that specific agenda item. So I guess that's the best answer I can provide at this time. But again, on the heat pump side, I just haven't been asked that direct question in the sense, would we be essentially mandated in our homes? As I mentioned, I'll go back to my team tomorrow and kind of dive into this for you guys and come back with the best answer that I can.
Thank you, Matt. So
And
you
it's
get
not
back to us.
it wouldn't necessarily be a governmental mandate, but it would be a sustainability leadership direction to even market this development as. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Kermit. Chair or Vice Chair, Vice Chair Buchholz. It's been a long week, 3 days to get back. by the way.
So just to begin, what's kind of the price point of these houses that you're thinking? What are we working with?
Yeah, so I don't know, Brian, if it might help to look at the concept map again, but we will have of our 167 slated lots at this point, 17 of them will be our carriage lane or alley loaded product. That'll be kind of the most attainable product that we'll have on the site. Currently, those are being priced in the low 400s, and we are working through additional initiatives at Verdian now to try to get those below that kind of magical $400,000 threshold. So that's the target point that we're looking to try to come in at from the attainable side. And then they go all the way up to kind of the largest offerings that we have. So there'd be quite a range in housing prices. But again, on the most attainable side, comparable product that's being listed now would be in that low $400,000 range.
So what's like the top end that you're seeing in general?
A lot of variables there, of course, depending on options that customers might select, but you'd be certainly up to the $800,000 mark, I think would be a safe bet.
Okay. And then are you seeing these to be mainly spec houses that then people will buy, or do you see custom construction where people?
Yeah, at Verdian, there's kind of a variability depending upon the season. So in our primary selling seasons, early on in the year, first, second quarter, that's where we see a lot of the kind of the written contracts, as we call them, come through. So those are more the customer says, I want to buy the slot and build the home to my specs. So that's usually about a 60-40 split between the buildable or the contracts and the more spec homes. All variability, of course, but that's kind of the general average that we see.
So one thing I was thinking along those lines is, since we're getting into a price point that's a little, higher for some of those, do you offer solar panels as an option, or just preparing for solar panels should they want them down, wiring from the roof to the basement type of thing?
Yeah. A lot of our buyers certainly are interested in that. Numerous of our homes do have the solar panels, so that's absolutely something we could accommodate on the spec home side. I believe they do have the conduit installed to allow that to occur. I would need to double check on that for you as well. But yeah, solar panels are concerned certainly accommodate that.
Okay, good. And then kind of just my last thought comment, and this goes to you and or the committee. You know, one of our wish list items in here is we're talking about educating homeowners on this information. My thought in reading that was, you know, who makes these materials? These are marketing materials. Who chooses? We're talking a lot about a lot of stuff. We discuss it here. They're builders. We're sustainability people. Kind of what are we asking for in educating homeowners? And that's to the committee and or the builders. What does that mean?
Well, so I think it's what, in my mind, what it means is what I mentioned, and Brian and Matt seem to be open to it, is not just, saying, waiting until someone asks if they can get an induction stove, but actually put a picture of it and in good faith, say, this is also a good option if you want to do this, rather than waiting for people to not even know about it or not promoting it or having it there and then saying, but you actually really don't want that. So that's my take. Let's, Alder Schaefer, let's have you weigh in on that. You're on mute.
Just following on that, I think the issue is you can certainly leave people to choose what they want in their houses, but you can promote. So, okay, this house comes with an induction stove. If you want something different, that's an alternative. We can talk about that. But instead of just sort of leaving it wide open from the beginning, this is the same thing with the heat pump. I think that you can sit there. I've not bought many houses in my life, but I'm not sure that I would turn down building a house or buying a house because it had a heat pump instead of a gas furnace. And so I think you are in a position to promote what is the clean way to do it. And yes, give people the option to change it and do something different. But you can set the precedence from the front end, not just leave it up to them to decide they want to do it.
So then I guess my final follow-up question then would be, do you have someone on your team that can compile all this, put it together and really say, here's an option for an efficient, sustainable house. Here are like all the options if you wanted to go crazy and get an EV and rooftop and all of that. Do you have somebody who could put that list together to encourage green building going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So the people that would typically deal with that would be certainly the customer facing side. So our salespeople, our designers, and then our project managers. So what I'll do as well is I'll get the current list that we have and just the additional marketing material. Happy to forward it onto this group so you guys can see that at Plan Commission or Common Council as those come up.
Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yep, thank you. And I think I know I speak for the committee here, Brian and Matt, that we want this to be a win-win. So if you can do these things, for us and our community, we would like you to get the credit for it. So we will help you, spread the word that you are doing these things if you do them. So you're already doing good things. If you can take it just a little bit further for us here, we would like to have that be a win-win and help you promote this as, a green community.
No, absolutely. And we really appreciate, these kind of meetings. That's why it really is great for us to go through this and all the different committees we've gone through and hear the different perspectives. And yeah, we certainly appreciate that. And we will absolutely bring that forward for you.
Okay, thank you.
Well said, Christy.
Thank you. Dick.
Yeah, actually, discussion on this last thing about educate property owners. I mean, reducing nutrients to stormwater. I mean, we already have a phosphorus banned fertilizer for lawns, although not under new construction. But it feels like, we want to infiltrate as much water as possible, even certainly the standard of 100%, but there are options for even increasing that. And I'm glad that the folks here are amenable to going above the state standard. I think about the commons areas, particularly I can't remember this big large subdivision or the whole neighborhood where you go south on Gammon Road and off to the right is this giant lawn area where there's a bike path that winds through it, and it's all lawn. It's all probably fertilized, and it's not even mentioning in the statement here about pesticides. So it's basically to increase all the native planting and prairie in ways that it promotes pollinators and minimizing the amount of actual grass lawn if possible. So this whole statement I find a little bit lacking information because we already are by the ordinance cut the application of lawn fertilizers, certainly phosphorus fertilizers. So it's but with nothing mentioned about pesticides and herbicides. And then so putting it more into native habitat and particularly in the commons areas and then even areas that help minimize just the amount of grassy lawns. Feels like that's what we're trying to get at here, but it doesn't feel like we're saying it.
That's a good point. So Dick, thank you. So Brian and Matt, one of the concepts, the terminology that I've seen, even done more so in the West, but we're all headed this way, for the droughts and things, is banning or really reducing the size of non-functional grass. And so and Dick makes a good point. We didn't put, pesticides and herbicides and things, but, really reducing the size of, again, non-functional grass. Some cities in the West have just mandated that because of lack of rain. Grass takes more water, chemicals to maintain nice. And so let's just not have as much of it. Deb.
And another thing along with that is one thing that the Friends of Pheasant Branch are really concerned about is the runoff of invasive seeds coming from the development to go into the conservancy, where we've spent lots and lots of grant money and community money from our donations, et cetera, that will mess with the native plants that we've tried to nurture there for the last since, well, 94. So that's another issue, is just what could come off that property in terms of weed seeds with the stormwater.
Okay, Lynn.
This question is for Matt. So and sorry to go back to the topic of heat pumps, but if you sold a house in the project for, say, 550,000, but if it had a heat pump in it, would you then have to sell it for 560,000 to cover the additional $10,000 for that heat pump?
I don't do the pricing of the homes, but certainly, I mean, we all know, I mean, all factors that go into the home are elements that we're certainly concerned with. So as I mentioned, on the more attainable product that we have, if there's an item that's going to add $5,000 or $10,000 in cost, we really have to weigh that with, the end user and what the home buyer can qualify for, and just all the headwinds that the home buyers are facing at this time. So, everything goes into is taken into consideration, but we certainly have to recoup the costs that go into the home. If there's other, grants and programs that anyone's, aware of that could assist with this. I mean, again, this is outside of my scope. I'm the land development. That's where my focus is. But naturally, any costs that are incurred in the home have to be, absorbed in some capacity. We don't come in asking for any subsidies from the municipalities, and our primary goal is to provide, the most attainable product that we can, and provide certainly the best value for those dollars. So it's kind of a roundabout answer there, but
Yep, I appreciate you focusing on the affordability of the 400K. I would say over 500K, Stark Realty is starting to track climate refugees. I don't think they would mind a $10,000 bump on a $600,000 house, especially if they're fleeing an area that has climate change issues. So I just thought I would mention that.
Yeah,
I think it would be a selling point.
Yeah. Matt, it's I will say the state and federal, the current federal incentives for heat pumps are big, and the state has them too. So even if federal changes come about, they're still state, and those are quick rebates. So they are there to incentivize this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. In our construction side, again, works with Energy Star. That I know they get a bunch of rebates on their side. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
come back with a fully armed answer next time. So I
Okay.
know that they're aware of that. I just don't typically deal with that side of it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, one last point that I would be remiss if I didn't ask,
Yes.
and as we're talking about affordability, and $400,000 house or property is 800 or excuse me 80,000 in a down payment to avoid the PMI. So what about some townhomes or something that is you're obviously going to have a very nice neighborhood here. I like nice neighborhoods too. What about some type of nice multifamily?
Yeah. Brian, do you want to take a shot at just kind of again how we got to our current mix, maybe reiterating the topographical challenges that we have and just some of those constraints that we dealt with?
Yeah, so as we looked at this neighborhood, again, the context around us having a lot of options immediately to our north in Red Tail Ridge to bring in some of those types of houses, we wanted to kind of counterbalance the overall mix of the greater neighborhood. When we start to look at, attached single family townhomes, 4 units, smaller scale multifamily, part of the challenges are just the cost to construct. And when you jump above the 3 unit into the commercial class of construction, there's kind of a gap component. So it's not something that we can integrate into every single neighborhood. Typically where we've got them in much larger properties with more units to be able to spread some of those costs across and create that diversity of housing where there are areas that don't have it. In this case, again, just to our north, where we see some of the adjoining neighborhoods bringing in attached product and really just kind of focusing on delivering the single family component in this project.
Alder Schaefer.
Yeah, I just say from the council perspective, we've talked a lot about this and while we want affordable, also single family homes are something that are not going up very often. And so I sort of applaud the idea here that you've noticed that around you is a lot of multifamily. And what we are still lacking is also the desire to have single family housing that's certainly affordable, but certainly having more single family housing is not to me viewed as a bad thing. So I applaud your kind of view on this.
Thank you for that feedback. Okay. Committee, do we have anything more additional? We appreciate, it sounds like Matt, you're going to get back to us about some things, the heat pumps, which
Absolutely.
seems to be our biggest point here among some of the other ones. So we appreciate that. Anything else that committee wants to offer? Otherwise, I think we should move forward.
Well, we just want to clarify, are we making a recommendation on these things that are listed here?
We already
Today?
made that recommendation.
Okay, yeah, I
yeah.
wasn't at the last meeting, so, yeah.
Oh, okay, yes, that's
So-
already made.
Yeah, so the wording on this educate property owners just doesn't feel like what we were trying to get at, and there's some things that I raised and Deb raised.
And Alder
I'm
Schaefer.
wondering so we've already made these recommendations, so where are you looking as far as what we do? I'm not clear on that.
Well, I think so, Matt, I feel like, and Brian, I feel like you heard us loud and clear about, especially Alder Schaefer, about the promote. We don't want it just to be an option, these things, if people ask. We would like you to promote, and then we talked about the win-win. So I feel like you guys heard us loud and clear on that. I feel like we were on the same page. Is that accurate?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So Dick, are you okay with that? If they're going to come back to us, what would you say, Matt, by the end of the week? You
Oh, sure.
think?
I can do that. That's no problem.
Okay. And so you can send it to Kelly and she can forward it to us, or you can figure out, but we'll as long as we get it, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay.
Of course.
I feel like we can move forward on this topic. Dick, are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I wasn't here for last meeting, so I'm
Okay.
coming up to speed, but I
Yeah.
feel some lot of positive stuff here, so that feels good.
Yep. Okay, good.
Is the
All right.
committee ready for me to send this as is to the Plan Commission? Because that's really the charge, was to give these recommendations to the Plan Commission for consideration. So if you want anything changed, it will need to be changed either pretty much right away, because I think the deadline was November 20th.
Okay. So Kelly, I think the things that you know, the points that we talked about that you probably captured are, you know, we want to change, you know, encourage to promote. We want induction stoves not to just offer, but promote. And then the points about the non-functional grass, we don't want to ban it, but reduce non-functional grass, and eliminate pesticides, or was it herbicides, Dick? Is that the right word? Herbicides?
Yeah, I mean, pesticides and herbicides.
Herbicides, you
Yeah.
know, where possible, which part of that would happen by reducing some non-functional grass.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And
Those-
reducing nutrients to stormwater, I mean, mainly we already have fertilizer bans, you know, for phosphorus. We really want to promote infiltration, which they've already said they're doing by
Yeah.
going to 100%. So I think just encouraging meeting the 100% goal, and then where opportunities arise on individual properties, you can even exceed 100%, you know, by infiltrating more than what was the natural background. So I think there's some tweaking on that last thing, but you know, we're not gonna wordsmith it here in
Yeah.
20 seconds.
Yeah, but Kelly, I think you could do that based on the conversation, right? I think you've got it. And I do applaud you with what Dick just said, you know, do more, infiltrate more than 100%. You're doing that, it sounds like, in that little corner. So we appreciate that. So, okay. Cormit, quick, and then I'm going to try and wrap this item up. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. I think you may have addressed the concern I had, Christy, with just the last instruction or request to Kelly to factor the discussion into a revision of this document of the list of recommendations. But I just want to make sure that that's clearly what's going to happen, because as the document stands, I don't think it does capture the clarity and intensity of concern regarding heat pumps, induction, and figuring out a way to create the standard to be the sustainable, and the variation on the standard to be a special request or option.
Yep. Okay.
And so if that's what Kelly is capturing and going to be able to transcribe, then I feel comfortable with that.
I think it is. And Kelly, if you'd like, I can look at a draft, and if you want to send it to Lynn and I can look at it and review it and get it back to you by 4 p.m. tomorrow. If that works for you, or whenever you probably need to turn it around quickly.
Yeah, I can try to turn it around quickly. I have a busy day tomorrow, but
Oh, yeah,
I
or
will,
the next
I'll
day.
get
No.
it. I'll get it.
I trust Kelly to do it.
Me too. I think you've got it. I think you can go for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. Let's move on from this item. Thank you very much, everyone, for your helpful feedback. Matt and Brian, we appreciate, again, you coming on tonight, taking time out of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have
Bye.
good nights. Okay. Okay, thank you. Good discussion. All right. Green team, where Brad? By the way, Brad, just because you're in high school doesn't mean you can't speak up on some of the things like the Ziegler Farm. You can speak up on anything in these meetings, okay? Raise your hand, start talking, asking questions, okay? There's not a silly question.
I do appreciate that. I did have, we are getting through, quite a few projects. We're kind of in the swing of things. I did have two quick questions. So, first of all, two members of MHS Green Team now have a seat on the Sustainability Committee underneath the school board, which is exciting for us because that's something we haven't had in the past. So I was just wondering if anyone had any recommendations on how, we should, as a, organization that's never had that kind of seat. And obviously I'm here, but does anyone have any ideas or, any kind of recommendations in that regard?
Yeah. Are you on the committee, Brian? Or
It's not me. It's two.
Okay.
Two other
Okay, well, that's good.
members.
You spread them out.
Yeah.
My first
Christy,
suggestion.
point of order.
Yep.
The school green team is on the agenda later. So do you want, if you're going to say, let's jump that up ahead, fine. But I just want to make sure it's an intentional decision and not just sliding into it.
Yeah, I think it's fine to just have Brad address it now.
Okay.
because it's just part of the green team, he's part of the green team, and that will all just be part of things. So my advice, and I open this up to everyone, is Brad, encourage them to speak up. Just because you're young doesn't mean you don't know things we don't. You're looking at different sources of information than we are. You're absorbing information from different platforms and things. We need your input. We need people your age's input. Tell us. We don't know. We don't know some things you know. So just because we're older and most of us going to college and all these things doesn't mean we know everything. Dean.
And especially you live in the schools.
Yeah.
And you've lived in the other schools recently. So you've got more up-to-date data than most of the adults do, actually.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Laura.
I would just say ask questions. That a lot of times, if you don't understand something, don't just sit back, ask questions, say, what does that mean? Or what are you asking? Or how is this going to impact us? And what can we do to help? When you ask questions, it makes people have to think through what they're actually doing, and it shows that you're prepared. And when they know that the smart students are coming prepared, the adults tend to prepare too.
Yes. John.
Yeah, I want to reiterate what Laura said. That part of your job should be to carry what you hear here back to those people at the school and say, these are the issues that are going on, and this is what people are saying. What do you think about it? Respond back to it. So you're not just a conduit from them to us. You're also a conduit from us to them, which I think is an important part of that.
Yes. Okay. So that's great. Other updates, Brad?
Cool. I mean, yeah, we were at the Dane County Youth Environmental Conference where we did a bunch of middle school visits, but other than that.
Okay, good. All right, Brad, I'm going to turn it back to you. Tell us, like, okay, gosh, I like this committee, but I wish that like I knew this about it, or I feel this that I don't get, or I don't understand why they're not doing this, or I think this is really cool. Do you have answers to any of those questions? Because it's not a silly question. What do you wish you would know more about this committee? What do you feel like we don't know?
I guess one question is is it something that as a green team we're allowed to say, hey, we want to see this change happen in the community, and can we bring it here?
Please bring it here.
Is that okay? That's
Please.
what I thought, and that's what we're hopefully working towards. I was just
absolutely.
Okay.
Another.
Dean?
Yeah, Brad, on that topic of ideas about how to be active, I was along with Kelly and some other folks from the Middleton at the Sustain Dane meeting, and a young climate activist named Isaac Drangstveit from Wanakee Sustainability Committee won one of the 3 annual awards for his activism in pushing Wanakee's efforts to be more sustainable. And I was saying he's 18, he's a senior. I was thinking as I saw him, maybe you guys could also get ideas from other people in your position around the area. And Isaac sounds like a real go-getter and might have ideas about how you could take some of the steps you were just asking about. So anyway, I can send you his name and his contact if you like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
And Brad, here's one thing I think just happened. I think I accidentally cut you off because you were about to say and another thing. And I think were you about to say that? You probably forgot because I did cut you off.
Oh, I don't think I had anything else. I think I guess here's where we are. So I feel like in the past as a green team, we've just worked at our school, so we're just trying to branch out, and that's just something we haven't done. So I guess maybe that's why we're not as, but I do really appreciate, seeing an example from someone else and just like, being at the meetings and kind of learning how stuff works. I think it's clicking more.
What do you wish the city would do? It's okay, you don't have to answer now or, but you're like, gosh, I don't understand why the city can't just do this. Is there anything that comes to mind? Or how about this? It would be very cool if the city did this. What would that cool thing be?
Maybe call it a homework assignment.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I don't
Okay.
want to put you
Basically
on the
kind of putting
spot, but
them-
these are things you can come to us with, okay?
Okay. No, I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, okay, good. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Deb. Oh, Kermit. Kermit first, then
Yeah,
Deb.
I was just going to offer to Brad that we're welcoming you and inviting you to prod us as the literal adults in the room to make things happen, whatever that looks like, and let us know what you guys are wanting to do, perhaps even on your own, that we can support and encourage you with. And that's something that I really appreciate the Dane County Youth Environmental Committee and the fact that there are great examples from within that where the students are saying, I'm not just a student, I'm a citizen, and they are taking steps to impact the greater community. So for instance, Isaac, who actually for the record graduated and is at UW-Madison now, but he got the award for what he'd done while in high school. He has been instrumental in nudging Wanakee to set up a sustainability committee, and it's not a story of simple steps and flowers and roses all the time. It's like he's had to be very creative and push and collaborate with different adults. But I think that that's something that I've been seeing more and more amongst high school green teams where they're not just sitting in the walls of the school, they're willing to get outside, whether it's pushing up into the school district, which was a big project that Daphne, who was a previous student rep on the committee, really was instrumental in driving forward to the point where now they actually have the sustainable committee on as part of the school district.
Yeah, okay. On that note,
Anyways, enough said.
thank you. Thank you, Kermit. Okay, Dean, is your hand down now?
Yeah, sorry,
Okay, yeah.
down.
Deb.
I was just going to ask Brad, I guess Kermit brought it up, but Middleton High School is still involved with DCYUC, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. It was like we had a booth last Saturday at the conference. One of the members, I think, is one of our members is on the I'm not some kind of I think the planning committee or something like that. To be honest, like we have different sections in Green Team, and I'm just like I wasn't the expert on that. I was like I helped a lot with our booth we set up. We talked about our projects, but I'm like in charge of I guess like the policy and planning committee where we're trying to go out and change things. So I guess I was less involved in like the educational aspect and more involved in trying to go out. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, DCYC, when you guys meet, you talk about, at least a couple years ago, I was at one of those meetings, and you were talking about things that were going on in different school districts, which gives you ideas for things that you could do, and all the connections that were happening with all the different school districts from around the county. So I thought that was really valuable. And you could definitely, the third school district that got an energy policy after you guys, Middleton High School or the district, I should say, was second in the state, right behind Madison, to get that going. And Eau Claire was third. And so, outside of the county too, you could have a little study group and find out what other school districts are doing. Or you could get a hold of Kathy Kuntz at Dane County, or you could get a hold of Victoria Ryberg at the the state of Wisconsin. She's in the DPI, but she's the environmental consultant with the state. And she knows what's going on all over the state. And it might give you guys some good ideas about things to pilot in the Middleton district, Middleton Cross Plains district. So just an idea.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Dick.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem was that Kermit you were raising about the point of order about talking about green team. It was the first item on the agenda, but be
I
that as it
apologize.
may,
I misread the
it
agenda.
may, I want to keep
Okay, no
talking.
problem.
But Brad, I don't know if it was discussed at the last meeting. I'm sorry I missed it, but we were getting information from you and others that they were trying to promote composting of food and really working on reducing food waste and garbage and recycling more. And I think a bottom-up problem that it seems intractable, that the green team has to be right at the point of working with students to get them to agree en masse that that is what they need to do, that you want to do it, and get other students, a mass of students, 60-70% of your student body to agree that we got to do something on this. And I think it was a few meetings ago that I thought we were talking about that. And so when you're asking for input, I want to give you that. I think that is a huge challenge, and getting the school to really implement it and being on the school board to be able to get them to understand the commitment it's going to take. But it's got to be a student-led effort that really wants it. So I encourage you to really make that an issue for your team.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So sorry, Brad. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I just want you to know how much we value your input and feedback. Okay, going forward. All right. All right. Thank you very much for attending as usual. Okay, let's go to Sustainable U update.
Okay, I guess I can take that. I've been working on getting some speakers for 2025, and February, Allison Madison is going to be talking about salt. Laura gave us that idea, and it worked out. Allison will talk about salt and why it's important to use. April is going to be Mike Miller. He's going to be talking about neonicotinoids and the impacts of using those both in agriculture as well as in urban settings. In June, we're going to have MG&Es coming to talk about EVs, and they're going to have most of the talk outside, looking at different examples of electric vehicles. In August, Melissa Johnson, she's with Greenfire. She's going to be talking about the huge solar project. It is 8,500 acres. I wrote it down, but I don't see where it is. But anyway, it's a solar farm that is right in the area of Buena Vista Marsh, where the greater prairie chicken habitat is. They are a threatened species in the state of Wisconsin. So she's going to be talking about the intersection of alternative energy and needing wildlife, fisheries, as well as other species besides the prairie chicken, and how you can do both. In October, Brenna Marsachek and Lisa Gaumanitz, I don't think I'm saying that right. Brenna is from the former Madison Audubon, Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance now, and Lisa is from Save Our Songbirds, and they're going to be talking about how do you have bird-friendly windows. And the December talk, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get Jeff Epping. I think he thought when I sent him that date, it was next month. And he said, check on it for next year. And so I wrote back to him and said, it is next year. Can you do it? And he hasn't gotten back to me yet. But anyway, he is the person that's doing all the native landscaping for Bell Farms, because they're going to be having native landscaping instead of grass so much. And so I wanted him to talk about native landscaping for homeowners. And that would be the last Sustainable U of the year.
Thank you, Deb. Good update. Do you want to slide right into Sustainable Middleton Awards?
Okay. And help me out with that one. So we, along with Kelly and Rick Eilertson, helped out as the person from the community on revamping the information page and the application, which hopefully will go live on the 1st of December. And our time frame is the 1st of December to the last day of February 28th. So we added 3 categories, and those 3 categories are environmental, no, of course I wrote that down too, and where's my note? I'm sorry, I apologize.
No problem.
You're
Well,
looking
one
for
thing-
the
one thing-
categories?
Green building, student leadership, and sustainable city staff. So you can look at what is the verbiage there explaining it. But sustainable city staff, in the past, city staff were pretty much exempt from getting an award. But we thought that employees of the city of Middleton who go above and beyond and do really great sustainable things should be recognized. So we've got an award which is separate. It's kind of a separate category for city staff. So these were just streamlined a little bit more. And as I said, we added the 3. And then we had like wording for the application as well. And I think the only thing we really changed on the application was we had a required photo that they were supposed to attach, and we made it optional, recommended, rather than it has to be, because hardly anybody ever did it. I don't know if they didn't read all the way through to the bottom directions, but we decided not to disqualify people because we weren't getting pictures, photos of whatever they're showcasing in their home or business. Dick, anything you can think of?
Well, I was just going to jump in and say I was at City Hall last year with Deb and Dick, who, when the awards were presented with Council, Alder Schaefer was obviously there as well. It was a great event, lots of energy, lots of excitement. So point being, send this out, get people, nominate people, get people to nominate, get the word out on this, because it really is a good thing. Dick, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think the categories, Kelly, Deb and I really tried to wordsmith them. Rick also had some editing on it. And we really tried to upgrade what this award is about and expand it. And I think if you take a few minutes and read through the categories, we're really trying to broaden the appeal to this. So far, from the first 2 years of the awards, we haven't had an overwhelming number of applications, but as this thing starts to take hold, we want to make it sustainable so that it will live on and beyond the time that those of us that have been spearheading it will no longer be on the committee. So certainly the city staff, I'm thinking also commission and committee members. I'm thinking there's some people on the Water Resources Commission that have been on for 35, 40 years and have done a tremendous job. And at point when they retire, we want to be able to give them an award, or at least see that they're nominated. And there's people at the recycling center that have literally carried the water of that place and been such great um, staff there. And so I'm hopefully that our committee agrees that broadening the whole, um, you know, ability to have different types of uh, entities, people, organizations, and businesses for an award makes it even more open to the community and something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'll say quick, and then Laura, Brad, even like if you have teachers that have really inspired you or, things like that, those are great nominations. We don't know who they are, but, can be other students, teachers, whatever, neighbors, anything. Okay, Laura.
Yeah, I just wanted to state my support. I read through these and thought that they were very nice and that I liked the broadening of the awards. And so I just wanted to say, public thank you to Dick and Deb for working on this and organizing it. And I think that you have broadened it and made it more professional. And I think that it will continue to grow. So I just wanted to say thank you.
No, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
And one thing that Dick had mentioned about we're trying to get more applicants. In the first year, I think everybody that applied or got that somebody else applied for them, they won because we had so few. I think we had 5 or something. But last year we got a lot more. And I think maybe this year we'll get even more. But I think the word needs to just get out there. And anyway, I think it's a growing thing, but we certainly could use help getting the word out.
Wonderful. Okay. Kermit, quick, please.
Yeah, I was impressed. I think it looks really great, and I like the definition and the number of categories that are spelled out. On the getting the word out front, are we tapping the city's PR infrastructure and staff to do that, or is there something we need to do to pop that into gear? Because
Kelly,
I don't know, Kelly or Deb, whether.
Yeah, we're definitely aware of that challenge and need, Kermit. So we had to get at least the wording right and the new categories clear, and we just finished that late last week and got it, wordsmith. So now the next phase is to really get it announced. I mean, we're trying to get it out the 1st of December, but the big push is on people's minds is after the 1st of January. But we want to get it so people are remembering it and thinking about it. And so we have a multi-phase push, certainly in early December, announcing it that is again coming out with new categories. And then after we get past the holidays, really push it in January. And we've extended the deadline now to the end of February, whereas the first year, I think it was the end of January, right, Deb? And then we kind of watered that back. Well, we'll push it back to the middle. But I think now we have a better idea how long it takes to do whatever. Rick and I aren't going out and trying to figure out how we're going to shape up some wooden plaques. That was a big challenge. We have a big stash of those now. So I think the end of February is a realistic deadline, but like it's written in the thing here, when February 28th comes, if your application isn't in, we're not accepting it. So we're getting a little more time after the holidays rather than trying to push it too hard before the holidays. But we recognize we're going to have to really hit all PR avenues in the media that we can.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we do have budget left for this year. So if you want to make posters like were made for the referendum or other, digital media, whatever, combination would be ideal. Then we have some budget left. That'll be a next item. But first, Kermit, can your hand go down?
I had two other quick things. One, an idea to float of expanding the judging pool, perhaps having some honorary or big name that might help give a news hook for some additional PR. So I'm just throwing that in your guys' lap. Think about it. And the other, I was reviewing the agenda packet. I was a little confused by page 9 and 10, and then 11 and 12. Or were those duplicates and one was the edited version, or is there something I'm not tracking quite?
One is the information page and the other one is the actual application page. And I have a Mac, and so the formatting to me was fine, but I see it here and it's not.
Yeah.
But Lori Burns at the city actually put all of this into the online info page and application, and it looks really good. So, you know, so if the committee approves this, then it should be good to go December 1st. She's got it to go live then. If you've got any edits, we need to get those ASAP.
And I think what we're looking for tonight is acceptance by the committee that they approve the expanded version of what this Sustainable Middleton Award is about and the categories. And I heard Laura speak to it favorably, and I guess Kermit too. So I think we would be nice to have something that shows that the committee is approving what our subgroup is presenting.
Okay, I support this. Do we need are you looking for a motion, Dick, to do this, Kermit?
I'm sorry. The text on page 12 includes what appears to be a comment. So if you're asking us to improve the text as presented, it looks like this is not, at least in the packet that I'm looking at, not like right there. Everything is okay with question boxes. Seems like that must have been a comment and not actual text intended to be part of the document.
Oh, that's for Lori.
And okay, and then similarly up at the
Lori
top of
Burns.
page 11, there's some other.
Yeah, this is just, this was
okay. I just wanted to be clear.
Rough
okay.
Copy that.
Okay, I think the concept looks good. Does anyone have any objections?
Yeah, I think what we're asking for would be a motion to say we accept the additional categories and the description of what those categories are about, so that we're expanding what it is rather than having it fairly limited. And that's, I mean, I think that's what we need the committee to agree to, so that the subgroup, as we go ahead, has the committee's blessing that we're going to do this. So however you want to do it in a parliamentary way, I think that's what we're needing.
Okay, can we get a motion?
This is Alder Schaefer. I make a motion that we approve the addition of these categories and the work that's going forward.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, Kermit second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Kelly, you have that down?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, great. This is exciting. Thank you both. Very exciting. Okay. Let's move on. Laura, let's have you get to the IP plan.
Well, basically the update is Common Council referred it out to the relevant committees. And so I have agreed with Kelly to any committee that wants to talk about it, wants questions, I will make myself available and she will as well. So we're covering that as it makes the rounds at the committees. And then we're going to, any feedback that we get, we'll incorporate into those committees before it goes back to Common Council to vote for approval. And so that's where we're at right now.
Okay, Alder Schaefer.
Yeah, I just want to say, Laura, thank you very much. And I've seen you presented to many of these committees, and it's very clear and succinct, and I think it's fine in going forward. And I think the council is going to be very happy when it's all done. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Good job. Laura has put in untold hours on this on our behalf.
Yep.
Yeah. Yay, Laura's right. Okay, good. Thank you, Laura. Okay, operating budget. So again, we've got about 1,000. Does anyone mind if I move forward?
No.
No. That probably wasn't a question. Okay, operating budget. So again, we have about 1,000 left. So, again, I think Kelly, actually, can you go up just a teeny, regarding oh no, I meant down, sorry. Okay. So are any of these other expenditures, are they happening? Like the lead plaque, for example, at 1,000, is that happening? What's going on with that?
No, they're not happening at the moment. I can move forward
Okay.
with any of them. I probably can't move forward with consulting hours because I'm
Yeah.
still waiting on a quote from the firms.
Okay. So, and for next year, 2025 ideas are great. I agree with the website design. And I bet Lynn would have some good ideas on that. But for this year, we still have 1,000 left, right?
Yes.
Okay. So for the Sustainable Middleton Awards or, Dick and Deb, if you want to make flyers, something, that money is available this year. Does that interest you?
I don't know how much
Okay.
paper and flyers
It
are
doesn't. Okay.
sustainable, and that's
Okay.
sustainable.
Okay, Laura. Yeah, right. Okay, Laura.
Well, one thing that I was thinking about, since I took a lot of staff time talking to them and everything, I was gonna have like cards to say thank you for working with us on
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And if we have a little money left, it's the holidays. What if I went over to Clausen's and bought them all little, holiday cookies to say thank you for working with us. Happy holidays.
I think that's a fabulous idea.
I don't know
And
if you can, if I don't know if staff can accept gifts,
yeah.
but maybe.
Yeah.
What
do
so
you
a
think,
candy cane
John?
would be too much? I mean, I just wanted to say thank you. I've used their time.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think
trying to.
it's a little tricky.
Yeah, better not on that
Yeah.
one. Just better not.
Cards
It's a
are
beautiful
fine.
gesture. You maybe send them all a smiley email thing saying thank you so much. But
Yeah. Or handwritten cards, and if you
yeah,
need to buy the cards, something, go for that. Sure. You don't need to get approval for $50 of cards, whatever.
Christie, I might suggest at this point, because it's getting long, is that since we only now know we have $1,000, maybe we think about it and come up with ideas for the next meeting.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, good idea.
Quick question for Kelly is how much is the ICLEI membership? And would that be an option for this year to get you started on that?
Well, I'd prefer to wait till next year because we're not working with them yet. So it's a next year
Okay.
thing for sure.
Okay.
If anybody has budget questions, email me. I think we are done with the meeting. Thank you, Alder Schaefer, for initiating that.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yes. Do we have a
Thank you.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Yes. Have a
Aye.
wonderful evening,
Aye.
everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.